welcome to the channel, and this is my 1994 GMT 400. As you see, it's a GMC C1500 two-wheel drive. It has just a little over 200,000 miles. When I first got this truck, I've owned it for a little over a year and a half. I got it at 167,000 miles. So I put quite a few miles on just under 2 years. Now let's see what's under the hood of this bad boy. Oh looky, a tired 350 small block Chevy GM motor. As far as I know, on this truck, nothing has really been upgraded or seems like replaced. Things all stock, nothing too crazy. Since I've owned it, one of the first things I did was I did a tune-up on it. Plugs, wires, distributor cap rotor, all that quick tune-up. And then I also touched the brakes. Has new brake lines all the way to the rear, along with all new brake components within the rear. And it started running rough, like it was running, not getting enough fuel. So what I ended up doing was I pulled the bed off, replaced the fuel tank, fuel pump, fuel lines, and I even pulled the throttle body off, and I went through that whole thing. Put new gaskets. It still seems like it still runs a little bit rough at the low idle range, but there's more to come with that because I have something in mind, so stay tuned for that. I did delete the AC compressor because that ended up getting shot, and so I was like, I plan on redoing the whole AC system anyway, so I just did a delete on that. And then just a month or two ago, the fuel pump went out, so I redid that, new fan clutch assembly, and that, no issues there. Still has coolant as far as I know. Oh yeah, probably could use a little bit more, but it's been I haven't noticed any leaks and everything's good there. So for some of you who have either been following me for a while, or my buddy Brandon, Faded Garage, sent you over here, know what the build consists of. But for those of you that are new, here is all of the parts, brand new parts that I have for the 94, along with a full parts truck sitting in my driveway. And yes, both spindles are lift spindles from the one and only Rough Country. Now, my buddy was the one that reached out to them about almost a year ago. He reached out and they sent him a full 6-inch lift kit for the 94, and I had no idea. My buddy dedicated a full month of his TikTok funding towards my truck build. So I'm still to this day shocked that he did that, and I couldn't thank him more for me, you know, doing some work on the 94. Speaking of the devil, my buddy stopped over for a few minutes because he saw that I was actually somewhat starting the truck build, and he was like, oh hey, you need a hand? And we kind of, you know, discussed on some of the things that I'm doing to this. But anyway, again, I can't thank him enough for what he's done for me personally to be able to start this truck build sooner than if I would have pulled the money out of my pocket. Yes, I know it's still been almost a year since I've had all of these parts, but I needed to get the off-roll up and go on because I still needed to get to work. And you know what they say, good things come in due time. The 94 was my daily driver, transportation to and from work. Obviously, because I put on over 30,000 miles on it within the last not even 2 years. But I now have this up and going, driving. It may not drive straight down the road. I may have to, you know, give it a little turn, but it doesn't have any wandering down like I was battling. And even though the speedometer reads 10 miles per hour less than what I'm actually going, I still trust this thing to and from work, even with the slight oil leak on it, but it's gotten a lot better than what it was. So the point is that I now have a transportation to and from work, and, you know, running errands and all that, and I can now finally start the 94 truck build. So some of the things you might be wondering that I might be doing to this, you already know that I'm going to be throwing in the 6-inch lift and rebuilding the front end. I'm also 6-lug swapping it. For the front, for two-wheel drives, all you have to do is just buy the correct rotor and it'll slip on just fine, whether it's 5-lug or 6-lug. As for the rear, I have that parts truck out there, which is a 6-lug. That parts truck is 4-wheel drive, but it does not run the greatest. It towed way too much weight for what it's capable of. It's only a light duty. It only has like 352 or 356 gears in it. So it was way too much. It was a farm truck. The compression on one side is pretty low. And so I don't plan on taking the engine out of it, taking the transmission out of it, the transfer case, none of that stuff. I'm only simply taking the fenders, the doors, the rear end, and probably some of the interior stuff. Now some of you may be wondering, why are you swapping a light duty 356 gear rear end into a truck that will be lifted and running 35s? Well, it's 6-lug, and I plan on re-gearing the rear end anyway. The U-bolts aren't the greatest, and at first I was a tad bit worried that if I would have taken that shackle off, that it would end up with a hole in the rear end. And when my buddy and I went and picked up this parts truck, the rear end looked a little bit better. We looked at it today, and we'll see what happens, more or less. If I end up with a hole in the rear axle by taking the shackle off, you can see the tank over there. I do have a welder. I do have the capabilities of welding in a patch panel on the axle. I have to do research to see if that is actually good enough to do. Otherwise, I'll just source out a different rear end. It's not the end of the world. I don't have parts yet to rebuild a rear end. That will come in the future because I still have quite a bit of work ahead of me before I get to that point. And if we go out back here, I also do have a second bed. It's not in, you would say, perfect condition. I do have all new bed supports for this. I will also end up having to do, a little bit of body work, whether it's putting in, maybe I'm thinking about if I should get new bedsides for this, or if I should just take it down to bare metal and just figure out where I need new metal in that. It's a little bit buried, but you can see the bars there. That is actually a bed bar. It doesn't go the full length of the bed or anything like that, but my brother had it. He gave it to me because he didn't want it. I plan on throwing that on, along with some lights on it. I really like the old school 90s that you see lifted. You got the bed bar, the lights, something like that is kind of what I'm going for, with a little bit of new school maybe, but we'll see. I also have this front brush guard, bull bar, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from. I plan on throwing on this, but I've had this for quite a few years actually. I bought it from my buddy Brandon, and I had it on one of my old trucks, and I made sure to take it off because I was going to keep it. At first I was going to throw it on the off-roller, but then my brother-in-law gave me that Jeep bumper for it, and so I decided to go with that. So as when it comes to the paint scheme of this, I really like this, like sky baby blue that GM did. My dad had a 95 4-wheel drive extended cab when I was younger, and I love the thing. It was actually the first vehicle that I learned how to drive in when I was 15. But I plan on keeping this color, but the parts truck I have out there, it's a different shade blue, but it's two-toned with silver. I'm gonna be doing that same thing. Down here where the black is, it was from the factory. It was a silver, because when I cleaned it up, because I was gonna repaint it, because on the bed it was really flaky and fading, and that's when I noticed that it was actually silver, not black. So I plan on doing a two-tone of the blue and the silver. When it comes to like bumpers, grill and all that, so my rear bumper is off of a heavy duty and I did paint it black. At first I was, with the black two-tone, I was gonna do a blackout scheme on it, but since I really dig the old school, 90s era trucks, I'm gonna do chrome. So when it comes to the grill, I really like the color match grill, so I'm gonna keep it that way. I might come up with something when it comes to the insert, maybe. We'll see what happens. As for the front bumper, I might actually look for a 6.5, 6.2 diesel front bumper with bumperettes. Kind of like what my buddy Brandon's doing with his 89. I know he's kind of showcased what, that he actually had the bumperettes. So I might end up doing the same thing. We'll see. Excuse the mess, and excuse my daughter. She's currently throwing a tantrum. But I do plan on doing some interior work to this. I threw this double-din screened radio in it. My buddy, he got off the TikTok shop. He had no need for it. And I wanted something different. And what I shouldn't have done it when I seen that in order to put something in like this, you actually have to cut some of the dash out. So I plan on pulling the dash out of the parts truck because that's also in decent condition, and throwing that in. Some of my, as you see, it's starting to crack up here. So I plan on doing all that as well. I really like this blue, so I'm gonna keep it. It actually cleans up pretty nice. I bought it when I first bought this truck. It was a pigsty in here. A lot of stains, dirt, just caked on the carpet, and it actually cleaned pretty good. So probably not going to do anything too crazy, other than I've still got to figure out what kind of radio I want to go with. And I do plan on making a custom headliner on this. That's something that I've always wanted to do to a truck. So that will be in the works. Even though I was into like sound systems, subs and amps, I had one in my first vehicle in high school, and I actually have two, I think they're 8-inch subs. They're a Rockville brand, and I forget the brand of the amp. It actually came with this truck. The kid that I bought it from, he was like, "Hey, you want this?" And I was like, "Sure, I have a use for it." And I will probably end up doing something similar to this, nothing overkill, but at least, doing a little upgrade when it comes to the whole sound system. That's kind of the build in a nutshell, kind of what I have planned for the 94 here. I currently don't have a name for this. I've had a few names that popped up, but nothing kind of stuck. Drop a name down below, and maybe y'all can help me on coming up with a name with Old Blue here. 'Cause that's kind of the one name that stuck was Old Blue. But I don't know, nothing's really stuck. When it comes to the project, I plan on doing a nice quality work rather than the off-roller. For those that have seen the work I've done on it, some of it's not the qualitiest, especially those flares, the welding them. When it comes to body work, I have a lot of learning to do, and I plan on doing that with this, whether it's if I have to end up putting a panel on and end up cutting it back out, so be it. Bodywork's one thing that I've never really touched when it comes to working on my own vehicles. So with that being said, be on the lookout. Content is coming out, and we'll see you all on the next one.